I never thought I'd be posting here, but wow. My life has completely imploded in the span of a week, and I need to get this out somewhere because my notes app is getting full, and my one friend who still talks to me is tired of hearing about it. So I met Eric 4 years ago at this wildlife rehabilitation center. Not like a cute meet-cute situation. We were both doing community service hours. Me for a speeding ticket, him for something he never fully explained, LMAO. Anyway, we got assigned to the overnight bottle feeding shifts nobody wanted. It was 3 a.m. and we were both half asleep trying to feed this orphaned baby fox that kept squirming and refusing the bottle. I was getting super frustrated and about to call the supervisor when Eric just started humming this weird little tune, and the fox just immediately calmed down, like magic. The little thing took the bottle and started drinking right away. When I asked him about it later, he said his grandma grew up on a farm and taught him that tune for calming scared animals. Something about the vibration being soothing? IDK. But it worked. We ended up talking until sunrise and exchanged numbers at the end of our shift. He was sweet back then. Would text me random animal facts, send me YouTube links to nature documentaries that were required viewing, according to him. I'm not gonna pretend our 4 years together were perfect because that's not how real relationships work. We had our fights, mostly about his mom, red flag I ignored, who never thought I was good enough. From day one, she made these little comments about everything. My appearance, my messy bun hairstyle I wear when I'm busy, how I loaded their dishwasher wrong when we visited, how I didn't have a real career path. Eric would always defend her saying she means well, and I should try harder with her. I tried. For 4 years, I tried. Bought her thoughtful gifts, remembered her birthday, listened to her boring stories about her coworkers, everything. But aside from his mom being the worst, we were good together mostly. We had this little ritual of making each other breakfast on alternating weekends. He made these banana pancakes I loved. I made him this egg dish with avocado and hot sauce that he went crazy for. We had inside jokes and favorite Netflix shows, and he held me when my cat died last year and didn't complain when I cried for days. He would bring me coffee in bed sometimes and knew exactly how I liked it. Oat milk, 1 sugar. Normal couple stuff, you know? We had talked about kids before. Someday. Vaguely. In that way you do when it feels safe to dream, but you're not making actual plans. He said he wanted 2 kids eventually. I was open to the idea. We both agreed we'd want to be more financially stable first. So when my period was late and I started feeling nauseous every morning, I didn't immediately think pregnancy. I thought it was stress from work deadlines or maybe a stomach bug. But after 2 weeks of feeling like garbage, my friend Sandy, the only one who still talks to me now, suggested I take a test just to rule it out. I bought the test on a Tuesday after work, one of those digital ones that says pregnant or not pregnant, because I didn't want to deal with trying to see if there was a faint line or whatever. Took it Wednesday morning, waited those agonizing 3 minutes staring at the ceiling of our bathroom. Pregnant? No mistaking that. I took another one from the box. Same result. I sat on the bathroom floor for like an hour trying to process everything. How to tell him. When to tell him. I didn't feel ready, but also not completely devastated. We had a stable relationship. We had a nice apartment. We both had steady income. It wasn't planned, but it wasn't a disaster either. God, I was stupid. I decided I'd make his favorite breakfast on Saturday morning. Casual. Normal. Then tell him. Give us the whole weekend to process and talk. I even rehearsed what I would say in my head like 50 times. Saturday came. I got up early, made the eggs exactly how he likes them. Extra hot sauce, perfectly ripe avocado. He was still sleeping, so I set everything up nice on the table. I was nervous, but also hopeful? I know that sounds dumb now. Then the door opened. His mom was there. Just showed up unannounced. She had a key. Another red flag I ignored. She said she was in the neighborhood and thought she'd stop by for coffee. Right as I was about to have this life-changing conversation with her son. Perfect timing as always, Barb. Eric finally woke up, came out in his sweatpants, kissed me on the cheek like normal. They both sat down and immediately started looking at their phones. Typical morning for them, but I was standing there feeling like I was going to throw up and not from the pregnancy. I put the food on the table. My hands were literally shaking. Both of them were still looking at their phones. I cleared my throat and just did it. Held out the test and said I had something to tell them. Eric looked up from his phone. I'll never forget his face. No surprise, no shock, just annoyance. Like I'd interrupted something important. He said, and these were his exact words, "Abortions are quick, bad timing, as always." His mom sipped her coffee and added that he finally realized I wasn't pretty, wasn't smart, just a burden with a belly. 4 years. 4 years together, and that's what he said to me. No discussion, no questions, just get rid of it. Like it was a stain on his shirt or something. I just put down the test, wiped my hands on a dish towel, went to the bathroom and washed my face. Didn't look in the mirror because I knew my eyes were puffy and red even though I wasn't actually crying yet. Put on my sneakers by the door and left. I had my phone and wallet in my pocket. Nothing else. No clothes, no laptop, no charger. Just walked out and kept walking until I couldn't feel my feet anymore. I ended up at this little coffee shop I'd never been to before. Sat in the corner booth for 3 hours, nursing one chai latte I could barely afford. The barista kept giving me these worried looks but didn't say anything. I finally called Sandy from the bathroom where no one could hear me break down. She let me crash on her floor that night. And the next. And the next. Her apartment is tiny and smells like cigarettes, and her 3 cats food all the time. The pillow she gave me was paper thin and my neck hurt every morning, but it was somewhere to sleep that wasn't a park bench. One morning, I slept through my alarm. Pregnancy exhaustion is real. And Sandy said through a yawn that I should at least try not to act like the whole world owed me something. That hurt more than Eric's comment somehow, because she was trying to help me and I was being a burden to her too. I stopped checking social media after that. Couldn't deal with seeing any mutual friends posting with Eric or seeing his mom's posts. I only had the clothes on my back, so I went to this thrift store and bought 2 t-shirts and a pair of jeans with the little money I had. Washed my underwear in Sandy's sink every night. Used her shampoo and toothpaste until I could afford my own. On day 5 of staying with Sandy, I got a job at this little cafe washing dishes. The owner was this older woman named Vicky who took one look at me and just nodded. Didn't ask questions, just said be there at 5 a.m. tomorrow. The pay was terrible, but it was something. Cash under the table. The first week was hard. My body was changing already even though I wasn't showing. Constant nausea, exhaustion, boobs hurting like crazy. I threw up twice during my shift and Vicky just handed me a ginger candy and pointed to the mop. No judgment, just practical. I started looking for programs for pregnant women. Made an appointment at a clinic to confirm everything was okay. Tried to figure out what the hell I was going to do. That's when Eric started texting. Just casual at first. Where are you? Did you take my navy hoodie? Your mom called asking for you. Then more urgent. Are you okay? Sandy won't tell me where you are. I'm worried. We should talk. I blocked his number after the 20th text in one day. Then he started using his work phone to call me. Then his friends' phones. I blocked them all. A week after I left, the voicemails started. I didn't listen to them at first. Deleted without hearing. But then curiosity got the better of me and I listened to one while taking a break at the cafe. His voice was different. Broken. Saying he panicked. Saying his mom got in his head. Saying he didn't mean it. Saying he loved me and wanted to talk. Too little. Too late. I threw my phone against the wall so hard the screen cracked. Vicky didn't even blink. Just handed me the broom and said phones break, hearts break, but dishes still need washing. I liked her. Sandy was getting annoyed with me being there all the time. I got it. Her place was tiny. I was taking up space. Using her shower. Eating her food even though I tried to contribute what little I made at the cafe. I needed to figure out a next step. I couldn't keep sleeping on her floor. Couldn't keep washing dishes forever. Couldn't keep ignoring the fact that I was pregnant and alone and had nothing. One night after a particularly long shift, I came back to Sandy's to find Eric sitting on her couch. She looked guilty. He looked desperate. I turned around and walked right back out. Heard him calling my name as I ran down the stairs. Heard him following me. Ran until I couldn't anymore. Ended up sitting in a 24-hour laundromat until morning, watching people fold their clothes and check their phones and live their normal lives while mine was falling apart. That's where I am now. Still staying at Sandy's but looking for somewhere else. Still working at the cafe. Still pregnant. Still getting messages from Eric through every possible channel. He even sent flowers to the cafe yesterday. Vicky put them directly in the trash. I don't know what happens next. I don't have some master revenge plan. I'm just trying to survive day by day. But I do know one thing. I'm never going back. Not to Eric. Not to that apartment. Not to that life where I was always trying to be good enough for people who were never going to think I was good enough. I'll update if anything changes. Thanks for reading if you made it this far. Update. Hey, it's me again. The pregnant girl sleeping on her friend's floor. Thanks for all the support on my last post. Did not expect that many people to care about my dumpster fire of a life LMAO. So I spent that whole night in the laundromat. Watched 4 different people come in with their baskets, do their laundry, and leave. This one older guy kept looking at me like he was trying to figure out if I was homeless or just really dedicated to having clean clothes at 3 a.m. By morning, my back was killing me from sitting in those plastic chairs, and I hadn't slept at all. I finally worked up the courage to go back to Sandy's around 7, hoping Eric would be gone. He was, but Sandy wasn't happy. She was standing in her tiny kitchen with her arms crossed and this look on her face I hadn't seen before. You betrayed my trust, she said. I told Eric you weren't staying here and then you showed up and made me look like a liar. I tried to explain that I didn't know he would be there, that I would never have come back if I knew, but she just kept shaking her head. I guess from her perspective, it looked like I was using her place as some dramatic backdrop for my relationship drama. The thing is, she wasn't entirely wrong. I was using her place. I was dragging her into my mess. I just didn't have anywhere else to go. She didn't kick me out right then, but she made it clear I needed to figure something out soon. Like, yesterday soon. I nodded and promised I would. Then I went to work at the cafe with my unwashed face and yesterday's clothes because I was too embarrassed to ask to use her shower. When I got to the cafe, Vicky took one look at me and pointed to the employee bathroom. There was a clean towel and a travel-size shampoo on the sink. I didn't cry then, but it was close. Just washed up as best I could and got to work. That day was when I finally called my mom. Hadn't spoken to her in months. We've never been close. She's always been the I told you so type, and I've always been the disappointment. Last time we talked was Christmas when she spent 20 minutes explaining how my cousin Jen, her favorite, had just bought a house and was really making something of herself. Anyway, I called her from the cafe's back alley during my break, told her everything in one rushed breath before she could interrupt. There was this long silence, and I thought maybe she'd hung up. Then she sighed, that deep, disappointed sigh I've heard my whole life, and said this was the same as always, me being in trouble and needing bailouts. Said she wasn't surprised Eric left me. He didn't, I left him, but whatever. Because I never think things through. I almost hung up. Almost. But I was desperate, so I swallowed my pride and asked if I could stay with her and Dad for a while. Just until I figured things out. Another silence. Then she said she'd have to talk to Dad. She'd call me back. She didn't call back that day. Or the next. On the third day, I got a text saying they'd discussed it and didn't think it would be healthy for anyone if I moved in, but she could help with groceries sometimes if I really needed it. Great. So much for family. Meanwhile, things with Sandy were getting worse. Her patience was wearing thin. I was trying so hard to be invisible, barely using the bathroom, eating the cheapest food I could find, staying at the cafe as long as possible. But there's only so invisible you can be in a studio apartment. Then I got sick. Like, really sick. Not just normal morning sickness, but full-on couldn't keep anything down sick. Ended up sitting on Sandy's bathroom floor all night, alternating between throwing up and crying quietly so I wouldn't wake her up. In the morning, she found me still there, pale and shaky, and something in her softened a little. She called Vicky for me and said I couldn't come in. Then she made me this weird tea her grandmother used to make for nausea and sat with me while I sipped it. I don't think I'm cut out for this, I told her. The whole mom thing. I can barely take care of myself. Sandy gave me this look. Not pity, something else. Said nobody is cut out for parenthood. Everyone just figures it out as they go. Even the people who look like they have their shit together are just faking it until they figure it out. That was the first genuinely nice conversation we'd had in days. The sickness lasted almost a week. I lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. Vicky kept my job, but I wasn't getting paid while not working, so my tiny savings disappeared on ginger ale and crackers. One night when I was feeling a little better, Sandy sat down across from me on the floor where I was scrolling through YouTube videos about pregnancy. She had this determined look on her face. We need to figure some things out, she said. We both know you can't stay here indefinitely, but you also can't be homeless while pregnant. So let's make a plan. She pulled out her laptop and we started Googling resources for pregnant women. Shelters, government assistance, healthcare options. I'd been avoiding this part, the part where I admit I need serious help. But Sandy was right. I needed a plan. We found a women's shelter across town that had a program specifically for pregnant women. They had a 6-week maximum stay but could help connect residents with long-term housing options and benefits. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. I called the next morning. They had a spot opening in 3 days. I took it. Those 3 days were a flurry of activity. Sandy helped me fill out application forms for every assistance program we could find. Medicaid, SNAP, housing assistance, WIC. It was humiliating, laying out my failure on all these forms. But I did it. Vicky let me come back to work for those 3 days even though I was still weak, gave me lighter duties and made sure I ate something during my shifts. She even sent me home with leftover soup one night. The day before I was supposed to move to the shelter, Eric showed up at the cafe. I was wiping down tables when I looked up, and there he was, standing just inside the door. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wearing the same navy hoodie I used to steal from him all the time. Vicky spotted him before he saw me and moved faster than I thought possible for someone her age. Stepped right in front of him, arms crossed, blocking his path to me. Vicky didn't budge, told him in her no-nonsense voice that I wasn't there. He called out again, said he just wanted to talk, said he'd been looking everywhere for me, said he was sorry. Sorry didn't change anything. I slipped into the back room while Vicky kept blocking him, heard her threatening to call the police if he didn't leave, heard the bell over the door jingle as he finally gave up. When she came to check on me, I was sitting on a crate of napkins trying to breathe normally. She didn't say anything about what happened, just handed me a broom and said the front needed sweeping. That night, I went back to Sandy's for my last night on her floor. She'd bought me a cupcake as a weird going-away present. We ate it together while watching some reality show neither of us really cared about. I'm sorry I was such a burden, I told her. She shrugged. Said I wasn't a burden, just temporary chaos. Said that's what friends are for sometimes, absorbing each other's chaos when things fall apart. The next morning, I packed my few belongings in a plastic bag and headed to the shelter. It was in an old converted house in a neighborhood I didn't know well. Looked normal from the outside. You'd never know it was a shelter unless someone told you. Inside was different. Security cameras, keypad locks on the doors, a sign-in sheet at the front desk, a list of rules posted on every wall, no visitors, curfew at 9 p.m., mandatory house meetings, chore assignments. The woman who checked me in was named Evelyn, mid-50s maybe, with this no-bullshit energy that reminded me a little of Vicky. She showed me to my room, really just a partitioned space with a twin bed and a small dresser. I'd be sharing the bathroom with 3 other women. It wasn't great, but it was safe. It was something. That first night was the strangest. Listening to the unfamiliar sounds of other people moving around, Women talking in hushed voices. Someone crying behind a thin wall. A baby fussing somewhere down the hall. I lay on my narrow bed, and for the first time since I left Eric, I let myself really cry. Not quiet tears, but full-on sobbing into my pillow so no one would hear. In the morning, Evelyn found me in the kitchen, staring at a bowl of cereal I couldn't bring myself to eat. She sat down across from me and pushed a folder across the table. Inside was information about a prenatal clinic that worked with the shelter, a list of free pregnancy classes at the community center, and applications for several longer-term housing programs. "You have 6 weeks with us," she said. "Make them count." I did try. Went to the clinic for my first real prenatal appointment. Saw my baby on an ultrasound for the first time. This tiny bean-shaped thing with a fluttering heartbeat. 10 weeks along, the doctor said. Everything looked normal. I got a part-time job at a grocery store stocking shelves before the store opened. It paid better than the cafe, but the hours were brutal. 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. Between that and still working at the cafe some days, I was exhausted all the time. But I was saving money, little by little. Eric kept trying to find me, sent messages through mutual friends, even showed up at the grocery store one morning. Must have asked around to figure out where I was working. I hid in the back room until my manager told him to leave. One night, about 2 weeks into my shelter stay, my phone lit up with a call from my mom. Weird because she never calls, just texts occasionally. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. She was calling because she'd run into Barb, Eric's mom, at the store. Barb had told her some twisted version of what happened, that I tricked Eric by getting pregnant on purpose, that I disappeared with his child and was trying to punish him, that she and Eric were heartbroken and just wanted to make things right. My mom actually seemed unsure who to believe, asked me if that's what really happened, like I would lie about something like that. I told her exactly what Eric and Barb had said that morning in the kitchen, word for word, told her how I'd just walked out, told her where I was staying now, told her I was working 2 jobs and trying to figure out how to not be homeless when this baby came. There was a long pause. Then my mom said something I never expected. "I believe you." 3 simple words I don't think I'd ever heard from her before. She didn't apologize for not letting me stay with them, didn't offer any grand gestures of support, but she asked if I needed anything. I said grocery money would help. She promised to send some through Venmo each week. It wasn't a miracle fix to our relationship, but it was something. As week 3 at the shelter started, Evelyn called me into her office, said there was a spot opening up in a transitional housing program they partnered with, apartments for women in crisis situations, 6-month leases, subsidized rent based on income. Not luxurious, but private. Safe. I could stay there until well after the baby was born. I filled out the application that day. Interviewed 2 days later. Tried not to get my hopes up. Meanwhile, the shelter was wearing on me. The lack of privacy, the constant noise, the rigid rules. One woman got kicked out for missing curfew twice, another for having her boyfriend over. The stress of knowing I only had a few weeks before I could end up truly homeless was always there. I was 16 weeks pregnant now, starting to show a little. Had to buy bigger clothes at the thrift store. My back hurt constantly. My feet swelled if I stood too long. Morning sickness had mostly passed, but now I was hungry all the time and could barely afford to feed myself properly. One day at the grocery store job, I almost passed out while lifting a case of water. My manager saw me wobble and rushed over, made me sit down, brought me juice, asked if I was okay. I wasn't okay. I was exhausted and scared and so alone. He sent me home early that day. I didn't want to go back to the shelter yet, so I went to a park and sat on a bench, watching kids play on the swings while their parents scrolled through their phones nearby. In a few months, that would be me. A mom. The thought terrified me. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it but answered at the last second. It was Eric. I should have hung up, should have blocked the number. But I was tired and sad, and part of me wanted to hear what he had to say. He started with, "I've been in therapy." Said his mom had been poisoning him against me for years. Said when I showed him the test, he panicked. Said he'd been looking for me everywhere to apologize, to make it right. I let him talk. Didn't say anything. Just listened as he poured out apologies and explanations and promises. When he finally ran out of words, I asked him one question. "Did you really mean what you said that morning?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something surprising. Yes, in that moment, I did mean it. I was scared and selfish, and I meant it. But I was wrong. So wrong. At least he was honest. I told him I appreciated the honesty, but it didn't change anything. Told him I was building a new life without him. Told him I'd contact him when I was ready. But until then, he needed to stop looking for me. He started to argue, but I cut him off. Said if he really respected me, if he really was sorry, he would give me the space I was asking for. There was a long pause. Then he agreed. Asked if I would at least let him know when the baby was born. I said I would think about it. Then I hung up. The next day I got the call. I'd been accepted to the transitional housing program. Could move in next week. My own tiny studio apartment. Not much, but mine. Somewhere safe to bring my baby home to. I called Sandy first with the news. She cheered so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Then I called Vicky, who just said good, about time, in her gruff way. Then, surprising myself, I called my mom. She didn't cheer, but she did say she was glad. Asked if I needed help moving. I said no, but thanks for offering. The night before I was set to move, one of the other women at the shelter, this quiet girl named Skylar who was there escaping an abusive boyfriend, knocked on my partition. She handed me a small gift bag with tissue paper sticking out the top. I opened it to find a tiny yellow onesie with ducks on it. The first thing anyone had given me for the baby. I started crying, stupid pregnancy hormones, and she awkwardly patted my shoulder before retreating. The next morning I packed up my few belongings, now including one duck onesie, and waited for Evelyn to drive me to my new place. As I sat on my shelter bed for the last time, I realized something. I'd survived the past month. Not thrived, not conquered, just survived. But sometimes that's enough. The apartment was tiny. One room with a kitchenette in the corner, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in, windows facing a brick wall. But it had a door that locked, a bed that was mine, a small table where I could eat without sharing space with strangers. Evelyn helped me get settled, explained the rules, still some, but fewer than the shelter, gave me a welcome basket with toilet paper and dish soap and other basics. Then she left, and I was alone. I sat on my bed and started making a list of everything I needed to do next. Find a doctor closer to my new place, look for a better job, get a crib somehow, keep saving money, figure out childcare options. The list was overwhelming, but I wasn't on someone's floor anymore. Wasn't in a shelter with a countdown clock. I had time now. 6 months of stability to figure out the next step. As I was writing my list, my phone buzzed with a text from my mom. She'd sent $400 through Venmo with the note, "For whatever you need," more than she'd ever given me at once. Maybe people can surprise you sometimes. I'll update again when there's more to tell. Thanks for listening, internet strangers. Somehow it helps knowing someone out there is reading this. Final update. Hey internet strangers, it's been a minute. Like 4 months of minutes actually. A lot has happened since my last update and it's 2 a.m. and I can't sleep. Shocking. So here I am typing this one-handed while my daughter sleeps on my chest. Yep, I had a baby. Still feels weird to type that, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So when I left off last time, I had just moved into the transitional housing apartment. Tiny little studio, but it was mine. I spent those first few weeks nesting like crazy. Found a secondhand dresser on Facebook Marketplace that someone was giving away for free. Got some dishes from a dollar store. Slowly started turning it into something that felt like home. My mom kept sending money every couple weeks. Not tons, but enough to help. We started talking more. Awkward phone calls where neither of us really knew what to say, but we were trying. She even drove down once to bring me a bag of baby things she'd picked up at garage sales. Didn't stay long, just dropped them off and we had a weird coffee at the place down the street. But it was something. At 20 weeks, I had the anatomy scan ultrasound. Found out I was having a girl. The tech asked if I wanted to send the pictures to Dad, and I just shook my head. She didn't push it. I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot afterwards, staring at those grainy black and white photos for like an hour. A girl, a daughter. It made everything more real somehow. Like suddenly this wasn't just some abstract baby, but a specific person. My daughter. I hadn't heard from Eric in weeks. He was keeping his promise to give me space. Part of me was relieved and part of me was IDK? Annoyed? Like after all his desperate attempts to find me, he just gave up that easily? Which is ridiculous because that's exactly what I asked for. Sometimes your brain doesn't make sense. Around week 25, things got harder physically. My back hurt constantly. Couldn't sleep more than a couple hours at a time. The grocery store job became impossible. Couldn't stand that long without my feet swelling up like balloons. Had to quit, which meant less money, but my body couldn't handle it anymore. Luckily, Vicky let me work more hours at the cafe, mostly sitting jobs like prepping food in the back. She even let me take home leftovers most nights, which helped with the whole eating enough situation. I met my neighbors at the transitional housing complex, mostly other single moms or women escaping bad situations. There was this one woman, Lydia, 3 doors down, who had a 2-year-old. She saw me struggling to carry laundry down to the basement one day and just took over. Started coming by every few days to check on me, would bring me dinner sometimes, became the first real friend I'd made since this whole mess started. One night she invited me over and I noticed she had a bunch of baby stuff, way more than she needed for her toddler. Turns out she volunteered at this community center that collected donations for new moms. She brought me there the next day and they loaded me up with a portable crib, baby clothes, diapers, even one of those baby carrier things you wear on your chest, all free. I ugly cried right there in the donation center. Pregnancy hormones are no joke. At 30 weeks, I got a strange text from Sandy. She'd run into Eric at a mutual friend's birthday thing. Said he asked about me, if she'd heard from me. She told him I was doing fine on my own. Said he looked terrible. I didn't respond. Didn't know what to say. Was trying so hard to focus on moving forward that looking back felt dangerous. But then my dad called out of nowhere. Hadn't spoken to him in over a year. He was awkward on the phone, clearing his throat every few seconds. Said Mom had told him everything. Said he was sorry for not being there for me. Said he and Mom had been talking and they wanted to help when the baby came, maybe visit for a few days to help me get settled. I was suspicious at first. My dad has never been the supportive type, but he sounded different, less judgmental, more uncertain, like he was trying. I said I'd think about it. Wasn't ready to say yes, but couldn't bring myself to say no either. At 34 weeks, I woke up to my phone blowing up with notifications. Turned out Eric's mom had posted this long, dramatic Facebook thing about missing grandchildren and selfish mothers who keep babies from their families. Didn't name me directly, but everyone who knew us knew who she was talking about. Some of our mutual friends sent me screenshots. One of them, this girl I wasn't even that close with from college, messaged to say she was disgusted by Barb's post and offered to bring me dinner sometime. People surprise you, I guess. I was shaking with anger. Considered posting my own version of events, but decided that would just drag me into drama I didn't need. Instead, I blocked Barb and anyone who liked her post. The next day, Eric called. I almost didn't answer, but figured it was related to his mom's post. He was apologizing before I even said hello. Said he had nothing to do with his mom's Facebook rant. Said he'd told her to take it down. Said he was horrified and embarrassed. Then he asked, very carefully, if he could be there when the baby was born. I said no. Told him I needed that time for myself. Told him we could talk about visitation after the baby was born and things had settled. Told him if he really wanted to be a father and not just ease his guilt, he'd respect my boundaries now so we could build something sustainable later. He went quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. Then he just said, okay. Asked if he could at least know when the baby arrived. I said I'd let him know after the fact, not during. He accepted that and we hung up. I spent a lot of time thinking about what kind of relationship I wanted him to have with our daughter. Went back and forth between none at all and regular visitation about 50 times a day. Talked about it with Lydia, who co-parented with her ex. She said it was hard but worth it for her kid to have both parents. Said the key was treating it like a business relationship. Polite, professional, focused on the kid, not on past drama. Made sense in theory, harder to imagine in practice. At 37 weeks, I had a scare. Started having what I thought were contractions. Went to the hospital alone at midnight, terrified. Turned out to be false labor. Braxton Hicks or whatever. They sent me home, but the doctor warned me that first babies often come early and I should have my plan ready. My plan was basically just me. Me getting myself to the hospital. Me giving birth. Me figuring it out. Lydia offered to be my person, the one who drives me and stays with me. I was hesitant to accept more help from her, but she insisted. Said no one should go through labor alone if they don't have to. So I added her to my plan. Meanwhile, I was still trying to figure out what would happen after the baby. My 6 months at the transitional housing would be up when the baby was about 3 months old. Had no idea where we'd go after that. Was on wait lists for affordable housing, but they were years long. Was saving everything I could from my cafe job, but it wasn't nearly enough for a regular apartment. My parents called weekly now. Strange, awkward calls where we tiptoed around past hurts and tried to build something new. They mentioned again that they could come stay for a week or two after the baby. I finally said yes, out of necessity more than anything. Couldn't afford to turn down help at this point. At 39 weeks and 4 days, my water broke. It happened at the cafe, of all places. I was helping Vicky close up when suddenly there was this gush and I was standing in a puddle. Vicky looked down, looked up at my face and just said, "Yep, that's it. Time to go." She called Lydia for me while I stood there in shock. Lydia arrived in 15 minutes, threw my hospital bag in her car, and drove me to the hospital while I called my doctor between contractions. Everything after that is kind of a blur. Labor was not what I expected. Not worse, not better, just different. 22 hours of the most intense experience of my life. Lydia stayed the whole time. Held my hand, got me ice chips, didn't complain when I squeezed her arm so hard it left marks, just kept saying I was doing great even when I definitely wasn't. I won't go into all the gross details, but at 6:17 in the morning, after pushing for 2 hours, my daughter was born. 6 pounds, 3 ounces. A full head of dark hair, tiny, perfect fingernails. The nurse put her on my chest and she just looked at me, like she knew exactly who I was, like we'd been waiting to meet each other. They kept us in the hospital for 2 days. I was terrified they wouldn't let me take her home, like they'd realize I had no idea what I was doing and call someone more qualified. But they just gave me some papers to sign, put her in the car seat Lydia had brought, and wheeled us to the front door. Just like that, I was someone's mother. My parents arrived the next day. It was weird having them in my tiny apartment. My mom took over immediately, doing laundry, making food, holding the baby while I showered for the first time in days. My dad was more awkward, hovering at the edges, afraid to hold her at first. But by day 3, he was the baby whisperer, could get her to stop crying when no one else could. I texted Eric a photo and the basic info the day after we got home, just birth weight, time, that everyone was healthy. He responded with paragraphs of emotion that I couldn't deal with at that moment, just said I'd be in touch when I was ready, and left it at that. The first 2 weeks are honestly a black hole in my memory. Sleep deprivation is no joke. My parents were surprisingly helpful, not perfect, still made comments that hurt sometimes, still didn't fully understand why I'd left Eric, but they showed up, stayed for 12 days until I started to feel like I could handle things. Before they left, my dad pulled me aside, said they'd been talking, said they had a rental property, a small house they'd been renting out to students for years. The current tenants were moving out next month. Said we could live there if I wanted. Rent would be minimal, just enough to cover taxes. Said it would give me stability until I got on my feet. I was suspicious at first, worried there would be strings attached. But he seemed genuine. Said becoming a grandfather had made him realize how much he'd failed as a father. Said this was a chance to do better. So I said yes. We'd move when my daughter was about 2 months old. It wasn't ideal. The house was in my hometown, 3 hours away from the life I'd started building. Would mean finding new doctors, new support systems, but it would mean stability. A yard, space for her to grow. Those first weeks were the hardest of my life. Breastfeeding was a nightmare. Painful, frustrating, never enough milk. I switched to formula by week 3, and the guilt was overwhelming until my doctor told me fed is best, and to stop torturing myself. Sleep didn't exist. My daughter had her days and nights mixed up. Would sleep peacefully all day, then scream from midnight to 5 a.m. I watched every episode of everything on Netflix while pacing my tiny apartment with her, bouncing, singing, pleading. At 4 weeks, I finally let Eric meet her. We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. I got there early, claimed a corner table, waited nervously. He walked in and his face just transformed when he saw her. Sat down carefully across from us like he was afraid we might disappear. He asked if he could hold her. I hesitated but handed her over, showing him how to support her head. He held her so carefully, just staring at her face like he was memorizing every detail. We talked awkwardly over her sleeping form, about what happens next, about expectations and boundaries, about his mother, who he'd apparently been fighting with constantly since her Facebook post, about what kind of father he wanted to be. I told him about moving to my parents' rental house. He was quiet for a long time, then asked if he could visit regularly. Said he would drive the 3 hours, get a hotel, whatever it took. Said he didn't expect us to get back together but wanted to be present for his daughter. It was the most mature conversation we'd ever had. We worked out a temporary schedule. He would visit every other weekend for a few hours each day. Once she was older and I was more comfortable, we could discuss overnights. He seemed grateful for even that much. When I told him her full name, Lily Grace, no middle name, he got teary. Didn't push for his last name to be included. Just said it was perfect. At 6 weeks, Vicky threw me a surprise goodbye party at the cafe. Just a small thing with the regular customers and staff. She gave me an envelope with cash they'd all collected, enough to buy a real crib for the new house. I ugly cried again. Lydia helped me pack up the apartment. It didn't take long. Still didn't have much. We'd become close over the months, texting daily, sharing the nightmare stories of early motherhood. She promised to visit once we were settled. I hoped she meant it. The day before we left, I took Lily for a walk around the neighborhood, stopped by the shelter where I'd stayed those desperate weeks. Evelyn was still there, welcomed me with a rare hug when she saw the baby, told me she was proud of me. Those words meant more than she could know. My parents came with a rented van. We loaded up my meager belongings, strapped Lily into her car seat, and drove away from the place where I'd rebuilt myself from nothing. The rental house was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, outdated kitchen, but after months in a studio apartment, it felt enormous. Had a tiny fenced backyard with an old maple tree, quiet street, neighbors who smiled and brought over cookies. It's been 2 months since we moved. Lily is 4 months old now, rolling over, grabbing things, smiling this gummy smile that makes everything worth it. Eric visits like he promised, brings diapers and formula, not just toys, sits on the floor and talks to her while she kicks and coos, leaves when I say it's time without argument. His mom tried to force her way into a visit once, showed up behind him at the door unannounced. I refused to let her in, told Eric either she leaves or they both leave. He chose to make her leave. Progress. It's not perfect. Still struggle every day. Still cry in the shower sometimes from exhaustion. Still wonder if I'm doing any of this right. But when I look at Lily, at this tiny person who exists because I chose not to give up, I know one thing for certain. Walking out that door 8 months ago was the hardest and best decision I've ever made. Don't know what the future holds. But for now, we're okay. Me and Lily, figuring it out one day at a time. I'll update if anything significant changes. Thanks for listening, kind strangers. Your support has meant more than you know.